I think Tallahassee is really doing that right now, especially in this talent, workforce, and education space.
Yes. Well, first I want to say thank you, Sue, for being on our podcast, Lively Out Loud, where we bring the heartbeat of Lively straight to you. But today we are going off script because I know that I personally, as well as our audience, really would love to hear about your journey and the insights that you've had personally and professionally that have turned you into the leader who you are today and made you able to have the impact and workforce in our community.
Well, thank you, BJ. I appreciate the ask. This is exciting. It's going to be fun. I hope I can deliver for you and the listeners, and it'll be fun to tell a story and also talk about some of the things that we're doing together and why it's so important for our community.
Well, have no fear. You're going to deliver. I don't doubt that. But before we launch into your incredible career, I'd love to pause and take a moment to look back. You know, when we are growing up, we oftentimes have these dreams or these visions for who we're going to become. So what did you visualize as your career path as a younger Sue?
You know, it's interesting. I was thinking about that question, and thank you for giving me a couple to think about. I grew up in Miami, and to be honest with you, I don't think I really had that vision until I really advanced a little bit in high school. And so probably because of my cultural and the heritage, my family came from Cuba. And so I was the generation that was really in Miami, and there was no track record of going on to training, going on to school. You really probably pictured, well, I'm just going to stay in Miami and do this generational cultural, wonderful life. And to my parents' credit, very, very, very young, they put us on a pathway of trying to immerse us into America. And so we spoke English in our home, where a lot of my cousins spoke Spanish. And it was really this journey that pushed us through the school system. And we traveled, camped, and exposed ourselves. And so really not until I was in high school did I start realizing, wow, there's other places I want to go instead of just staying in Miami. And so I was able to go to Florida State University. And at that point, I really was exposed to more because I had the opportunity to really see different types of career opportunities and pathways of things that I never considered I could possibly do.
And I was listening for it. Miami all the way to Tallahassee and there, you know, FSU, and it sucked you in.
Yeah.
So on that journey, I believe we are made up of our experiences. So who or what was pivotal, especially in your early life, to creating who you are today that we know?
Yeah, I think probably my first job out of the university, it was really because of the luck of meeting someone that needed to hire a secretary, and she was head of public relations at the Fontainebleau Hilton in Miami, which is a big deal at the time. And she said to me, "Do you have a job?" And I said, "No." I said, "I need a job." And she said, "Well, I've gone through 5 assistants in the last year, and I need somebody." And I thought, okay, yes, I would love to do that. It scared me a little bit. But I thought, what an opportunity, and now I need to go make something out of that opportunity. And so I would have never thought that I'd have a chance to work for Hilton Hotels Corporation. And from there, I was able to just progress. And it was really having a little bit of a drive and pushing, but also really trying to be around people that I saw wanted me to succeed and gave me an opportunity as long as I was able to step into that space and work hard to deliver.
Yeah, and having that belief in yourself, too, that efficacy. And so with that, I'd love to take just a moment to recap some of your accomplishments as the president and CEO of the Greater Tallahassee Chamber. Now, you have a long list that I could say, but I'm just going to share a few of my favorite personally and for our audience. And so the creation of world-class schools, Access Tallahassee, and the Chamber Foundation. Now, I could easily stop there, but I won't. From the very beginning of its thought and inception, North Florida World of Works, you've been a strong advocate for that. And as we have had that a few times in our community, that is such a powerful opportunity for youth. And Lively is so proud to be a partner in that. You are responsible for inclusive programming that now totals over 400 annual events. And I will say a personal favorite of mine is the Professional Women's Forum.
You were there recently.
I was.
So I'm going to interrupt you for a moment because part of it is the nature of what my job entailed, but those programs were, I had the opportunity to work, and I call it staff that, with a great team. But the nod goes to leadership and volunteers and my board members. And I think that was a lesson I learned along the way, is that it's not about a me approach. It really is to be in the space and provide what you can bring, and work to bring people together, and know that you're not the smartest person in the room. And all of those initiatives were really, I could give you a history of how they came about, who brought them about, and why they were successful, because of people that were involved. And so I appreciate that. It's what a Chamber of Commerce should do, is facilitate, connect, and collaborate and move things forward. But I can give you a superstar list of individuals that are involved in those programs. And I think our community and region have really benefited from that. And so it's been a great 25 years at the Chamber of Commerce, and I think the next round is going to be even better for the next president and CEO.
And I can speak to it. It really is empowering to have a network. And to your point, and I've heard you speak before about partnerships and bringing people together. And that leads me to my next question. You've obviously led many teams through complex and sometimes uncertain work, depending on the initiative. So can you share a story about a time when it was your values that guided your decision making?
There's certainly a few in my 25 years, and I think the approach that I always tried to make was to not to work with individuals and not have them feel like it's personal. And we were talking offline as recently as the last couple days. When you're in a setting that you realize that individuals have a different perspective and different opinions, it's important to just try. And I've had several examples where if you can diffuse the situation a little bit, and sometimes people would look at you and say, well, we just have nothing in common. We're totally different. We don't want the same things. But if you could really realize that, no, we're actually really working to create jobs. We're actually working to help those individuals that are living in poverty. We're working so that individuals and businesses can help nonprofits and serve on their boards and give money in dollars. All of a sudden people start realizing, oh, okay, well, maybe I misjudged what the intentions were, and we really do have something in common. And this community has been through so much. Some of the initiatives that I'm most proud of and a lot of it has to do with our children. When the business community came together with, at the time, Superintendent Monford, for the half-penny sales tax for our schools, which will be on the ballot again coming up, and people need to support it. That was tremendous. And it was a matter of getting different people around the table and saying, we need to do this for our schools. And it was the same thing with our Blueprint initiative, where you had business, stormwater, lake restoration, environmentalists get together and say, we need to work together for the betterment of the community. So, I try not to dwell on those late night phone calls that I have a library memory bank of, and just say, let's really just kind of work towards what we need to be doing, because there's so much that needs to be done for our region and community.
And having that larger perspective and that larger perspective of how everyone benefits from.
Right.
There's an old saying, high tide raises all boats. Would you say that that's applicable and part of the conversation?
And I think when you have the opportunity to work with individuals who really don't want to make it so much about themselves, and that seems an obvious, but I think as soon as you can level that and leave it outside and really realize what are we trying to accomplish and for who, really it starts getting everybody focused in the right direction. And I think you referenced it already. The North Florida Worlds of Work is just such a tremendous opportunity for our community and our region, and to be on this campus and to see what that looks like in October, and watching BJ running around with her team, watching all the ninth graders come through and experience what their future could be is really just a tremendous event, and kudos to everybody in your team for pulling that off as well.
And it is a ton of fun.
It
It is a lot of work.
It is.
But the outcome is well worth that. And, just having that focus on the next generation and making sure that we are setting the table and promoting their opportunities. You mentioned a number of accomplishments. Is there one that had the most meaning for you, or the one that was the most surprising to carry it all the way out?
This has been a little bit hard. I'm learning a lot about myself because while I've done this for 25 years, I think I've just kind of pushed through and I'm trying to make myself think back. I would think when we recruited Danfoss Turbo Corps here,
Yes.
a lot of these things that were done happened and you just move on. And sometimes I think sometimes people don't even realize how it happened. But Danfoss Turbo Corps was in Canada and they were recruited to Tallahassee, and look at what the company has done. We recruited Kay Scholler Law Firm back office and the economic development days, and I don't think I would put just one item. I look at what we were able to do as a community with COVID and our businesses and trying to keep things moving forward, and all of the partners that step forward to make that possible, make that happen. And as a chamber, we were committed to making sure we put programming forward to help our businesses because they needed us.
And keeping that connection
Correct.
and that fiber and
Right.
those threads
And
connected.
just trying to be creative. Our chairman at the time was Beth Quorum, and she went and extended multiple years because she wanted to see it through. And so there's been a lot that has gone on, and there's so many that it's just we're proud that we are recognized and hopefully respected as an entity that's trying to move the community forward with great partners.
Well, and talking about the chamber itself as an entity, it received its charter on January 9th, 1923. So it really is a historical chamber here for Tallahassee. And since then, you have been the longest serving president. So even over the years, it was founded on principles that were waste less and work more. Dream less and do more, and to make work, and this really resonated with me, to make work a service of hand, heart, and head. So here's the question.
Okay.
So as
But that was a great, I love the way you set that up. So this is
well,
going to be
thank
fun.
you.
Great.
Thank you. And I think those principles still hold true when, thinking back and reflecting on, my short tenure in the chamber and what I see and your leadership. But as the first female president, and let me say that again, as the first female president of the chamber, that in and of itself is a testament to you. How do you believe your perspective as a female leader has really impacted those principles in our community today?
Well, I think I'm going to take you all the way back to when I was interviewing, and really I believe there were females on that selection process that really helped and supported. Now, I was at the time, and it's scary when you start dropping names, but I'm going to make sure I do this. So Will Butler was chairman of the chamber, and Bill Smith of the Economic Development Council. And there were some women, several female businesswomen that were on the search process. And I have to credit them for taking a minute when they brought in other finalists from outside the community. And they literally stepped up and said, why would we not hire someone who's here that we know and give them the opportunity? And my understanding is there were a lot of phone calls that were made, and Henry Martin and Erin Ennis and several other women that really leaned in as business women here and said, why
wouldn't we?
Why would we not? And to the credit to the rest of the committee, they said, you're right, we should. And, anybody Will Butler, who really does give back a lot to local school system, I remember his quote in the paper, it was like, we know Sue, she's a professional, and we know she won't embarrass us. And, I brought that up to him, and I was just like, okay, that's a compliment. He goes, it was a compliment.
Yes.
And
well, there's trust.
Right.
There's trust in someone
Right.
taking the leadership, and they trusted you to do that.
And for that, I really appreciate. I was thankful. I didn't know what certainly didn't think I'd be doing it 25 years later. But I also knew that I was not going to be a chamber president that wanted to move to other chambers. We loved this community. We were here, and I thought I'll do it for a few years until it's time to move on, so the next person can come and take it to the next level. And it's been fast.
Yes.
And I've had a chance to work with some tremendous individuals, and a lot of female leaders and a lot of male leaders. And I've just been very fortunate to have great people around me that trusted me, and also I consider them friends.
Yeah. And you have a really strong team.
I do.
You absolutely do. But that comes from leadership. And so what's next for Sudic?
I've been asked that question 4 times today already, and we're not even at the end of the day. I'm not sure, and it's so fascinating to see what's going on with just where we are. Things are moving so fast. I mean, driving over here, I was listening to some business shows, and the AI. It's exciting.
Yes.
I know. Even you just panic. Things are moving so fast. So I don't have anything planned yet.
Well, that's freedom
it
in
is.
and of itself.
It is.
To take a breath.
And I think it's I'm open to new discovery, but I realize there's so much to keep learning, and it's a little bit of a reset for me, different than it was when I started maybe 30 years ago. And it's exciting, and whatever the calling is for me to do, I will be there and listen and
Ready to take it on.
ready to move forward.
Yes, yes. So as our time is nearing, I want to make sure that our audience and our listeners get an opportunity to really learn the most important details about you, Miss Sudic.
Okay.
And so I'm going to ask a few rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So all you have to do is say the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
So don't worry, they're fun.
Fun for you?
No.
This'll be
I've
fun.
tried these out on other people.
Okay,
They're
this
fun.
is great. Here we go.
So the first one, favorite book or favorite author?
Okay. My daily devotional.
Great answer. A coffee meeting or a walking meeting?
Walking.
Walking. A leader you would love to have dinner with, and it can be a historical figure or a contemporary person.
Oh, there's so many. Come back to that one.
Okay. Most important question, red wine or white?
Neither.
Neither. Good answer. Water. And then what is your favorite unhealthy snack?
It's getting better and better. So now I'm being a little bit more cautious.
Okay.
My favorite or most healthy, to me, those are 2 different answers.
Your favorite unhealthy.
Okay, so
everybody has one, even if we don't always.
It depends.
partake.
It's probably anything with hummus.
Hummus, okay. That
Anything
is
crunchy
good.
with hummus. So
yes,
cracker,
the
veggies.
pita crackers,
anything like that.
Celery, awesome. So you've had a moment to think.
Oh, she's
so
coming
who's
back
that
to the
leader?
question.
Who's that leader?
That's tough.
So many.
It
is.
I think it tells me how my brain kind of functions, because things right now, I think there's such an opportunity for great leadership. I kind of go back to individuals that I maybe admire and look towards, and some of my mentors. I really am. You've stumped me with that one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think when you look back, it's hard to pick one person because everyone you come into contact with leaves their mark, either through a lesson learned or seeing an opportunity through an obstacle. So I think that's a very fair way to answer that.
Yeah. Well, and I think maybe also my job tend to try to pull me into political settings, and I think sometimes we're a little bit more productive when we don't let it become political.
Yes.
So I don't want my immediate move is to move away from anything. Most people define leaders as, well, people that are political or people that are famous. And I think there's so much leadership in individuals who you kind of keep close to you, and that you can turn to, because they're very unbiased, and they really are giving you the guidance that's the most important. And that's probably what I've learned. I've been I've been characterized as being pretty diplomatic or quiet or just reserved. And part of that is the job. You want
The poise.
Well, I don't know, poise, but you want people to be able to. You want to be able to accomplish some things and work. And I think sometimes if people feel as if they can see what they're working with, then it's a little bit easier to try and get things done. So I try, and I think that's kind of my personality. So I tend to go talk to individuals that I really, really trust, and also take in state, national news and international news, and observe what leadership looks like.
Yeah.
But I don't think no one's perfect.
No.
So,
certainly not.
yeah,
and
so.
it's about making those connections
That's right,
and
that's right.
finding those
That's
common points. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here on our podcast and
Well,
for
thank
sharing
you.
your journey.
Thank you. And I want to give out acknowledgments to you and your team for what you're doing here at Lively. I mean, this is so important. Just coming into this podcast, I was able to observe a potential student maybe out in the lobby
Yes,
area.
in our student services.
And it's interesting. That's in my role. You always try and have your eyes open and try and see what's going on, whether you're driving downtown or you're in a business. And just seeing that, you are doing what you need to do as your mission. That family that was there, finding information and
Thank you.
changing the path for life for that student. So thanks for what you and your team do here. It really matters and it makes a difference. And we love partnering with you. We got to keep doing what we're doing.
Well, I love the partnership, and
Yeah.
especially, the emphasis that your chamber puts on education in the next generation. It is so meaningful. And you are always going to be a role model of leadership for people in our community. And your leadership can absolutely be characterized first with your innovative vision. And you have, with such humility, made it about your team, but a strong team has a strong leader.
Oh, thank you.
And that leadership has made such a fundamental impact on our community. Because I think, and you've mentioned it so many times, it's been forged with a real priority on collaboration and
Absolutely.
partnership. And it's that really does embody the Titan spirit. So we recently had an unveiling.
I saw that.
And we are the Lively Tech Titans. And so it is honestly my honor, and I am so proud to be able to recognize you as our very first honorary Titan of Lively Technical College Mystic.
Right.
So thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time,
That's
and thank
sweet.
you for your leadership.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much. That's great. I'm
Yes.
going to let everybody see that.
Yes. And it's your service is truly unparalleled.
so
So
much.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for being with us here today on our episode of Lively Out Loud. You can find this episode on livelytech.com/podcast, or you can check us out anywhere you retrieve your podcasts. Thank you. It's transformational. Tallahassee's constantly changing. And I think that's the fun part of living in Tallahassee. So I've now lived here longer than I've lived in my hometown. And so you're constantly seeing new opportunities, but that's directly related to the focus on creating accessibility, I think, through education and training, and then having networks of businesses that are ready.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about this. Things are just moving so much faster now. I mean, and everyone says that, and it seems like a cliche, but it really is. And if you don't think it's going to, you've already been left behind. And that's like I said, when now in the car, depending on how my day goes, I'll either put it on jazz or I'll put it on the news so I can keep up with what's going on.
Yes.
And they're saying the same thing with regards to everything, from the AI and the students and the businesses and the international companies and our universities. And as our community, there's so much opportunity to just kind of keep your ears all open to know what's going on and figure out, okay, I want to go learn more about that space, and that'll pull you into a direction you might not have ever thought was possible. And Tallahassee provides that opportunity because things are so accessible here.
Yes.
And you'll see BJ in the morning, but you may see her later in the afternoon at the grocery store or maybe taking a walk. And before you know it, you've got a relationship.
Yes.
And now you're able to go do something you might not have ever had a chance to do if you were in another type of community, and that's Tallahassee.
And I think breaking walls and silos down, and you said this just a moment ago, seeing people as people and finding that space that everyone can contribute and be successful.
And it's okay to determine that there might not be a match. And I think the best thing to do is realize that and say, that's okay, I'm going to go over this direction now, and just keep pushing forward and realize as long as you're authentic in what you're trying to accomplish,
then the right work will
that's
occur.
exactly right. That's
100%, 100%. But your visionary leadership has really been a piece of that. And I think of helping people connect and helping people find their just right fit. And to your point, in Tallahassee, there isn't one. And how sad would that be, and how disenfranchising? There are so many different ways, and the groundwork is laid for that. It's exciting and an ecosystem, because I was saying this to Keith Bowers the other day. Lively and education is at one end of an ecosystem. We're part of a journey at the very beginning, laying the foundation that allows choice and options. And our business and industry, which is really exciting, is further along, ready to receive the skills that they have, the innate talents.
Well, and it is a full circle, because while we've worked with businesses or industry and they have employees, and they have employees that have children.
Yes.
They want to know, well, what's my K through 12 opportunity, but then what's my pathway forward? Because the dynamics of families have changed so much, with individuals not knowing what their children want to do. It may not be a 4-year college. So it is a full circle. It is something that we all need to realize, that we are touching each other's worlds. And that's why we have to work together and communicate, because how will we know what's really going to be effective if we don't do that? And so I think Tallahassee is really doing that right now, especially in this talent, workforce, and education space.
Yes.
And, I see you at all the meetings. I see Corey Melton on our team at the meetings.
Yes, she is.
There's just so many people doing great work in that space.
And in the full spectrum, it's covering, because we really are a tight-knit community. It's very large. It feels very large. It takes me 45 minutes to get to work, because I live almost at Georgia. But it's that small town community feel, because someone knows somebody who knows you.
Right.
And that's a beautiful feeling, to feel that support and feel that connection.
Yeah. Well, just keep doing what you're doing. It's great. It makes a big difference.
Thank you. I appreciate your support in that.